Will you see my screen? Everyone?
Recording in progress.
Will you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So here. So last class we started discussing way of creating the macro variables. Total 5 ways we can create a macro variables. Percentage let method, macro parameter method. In macro parameter method, two methods we discussed, positional parameter method and named parameter method. Now we have percentile do iterative method. Okay. So in a percentile do iterative method, how we are going to create a macro variables. Okay. Generally, percentile do iterative method is nothing but it's a normal do loop only. In normal in a base as code, if you use a normal do loop code, generally how we'll do, for example, do some I is equal to 1 to 10, and you will write some statement and then close with the end statement, right? Normally do loop will write it in the base as code. Same do loop, if you wrote within the macro. So here what variable you are creating? Here you are creating one a normal I is equal to 1. This I is a normal variable in a base as code. Same thing if you create within the macros, it's going to be a macro variable. Simple. Understand? Let me show you with an example, then you'll get a clear idea. Okay. So when we create, when we want to create a macro variable in either an incremental, in any incremental orders or any decremental order, with a proper interval, if you have values, there we'll go and create a macro variable. Okay. So let me show you with some, let me take some data. Okay. When we want to create a macro variable in either incremental or a decremental with the proper intervals, if we have a data, so there we'll go and create a macro variable. Okay, let's say a scenario. I have a different data sets like this. Year 2010 sales amount, year 2011, 12, 13, 14. Okay, let's assume I have 5 data sets are there. Year 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. 5 data sets are there. Combine these 5 data sets and create one final data set. Combine these 5 data sets and create one final data set. Tell me, how can I combine? Understand? See, year 2010, this data set has sales amounts, some 20,000. Year 11 has some sales amount. Year 12, year 2012, 2013, 14. Now combine all these 5 data sets, create only one. It should contain all the sales amounts in one data set only. Okay. Tell me, how can I combine programmatically? Now, I'm not asking in any macros. Normally, how will combine? If I give 5 data sets, how will combine and you will get all the final, all the sales amounts in one data sets for all the data sets. How will combine?
Set statement we can.
So set statement means set. Yeah, tell me correct only. Tell me What to do?
Yeah, set WR10,
YR.
WR11, yeah, Y,
Year 10, year
yeah,
11,
11, 12, 13, 14.
12, 13, 14. Simple. Any other method you have? This is also yes. Create, see, one observation, one observation, one observation, one observation. 5 observations are created. All the final cell summaries will be having. So what is this method? What is this method? Method name? Anyone?
Combining.
Yeah, we are combining concatenation method, right?
Yes.
We're combining vertically. Vertically, there are two methods are there: concatenation method and interleaving method. Correct. Now, in the concatenation method, there is another alternative method also we have. Remember, in another way also we can combine it. What is an alternative method for the concatenation method? Rock append, right? Using rock append also I can combine, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Just remember proc append syntax. Tell me anyone, what is proc append syntax?
Proc append data equal to
Data equal
final,
final,
base equal to
base equal to
YR1, YR10,
YR10.
YR11, 12, and 13 and 14.
Oh,
Oh,
here
no,
only
no.
will write.
What?
Oh, here only will write.
No, again, in the second step, we have to write it.
Okay. So you have to write reverse, okay? Data.
Yeah. Mhm.
See, first your base is your final data set. Always.
Okay.
So to which you are combining. Data is your input.
Okay. YR10 is here.
Data is equal to YR12, 13, 14. 11, 12, 13, 14.
So first year 10 you are appended to the final data
Final.
set. So already final one. Final decision, final underscore one. So year 10 you are appending. Similar way, year 11, year 12, and year 13. Year 14. Okay. Year 10, year 11, year 12, year 13, year 14. So every time you have to write a proc append step. See, you are appending year 10 to final one, year to 11 final one, year 12, year 13. Every year you're appending to the final one. So again, this is a repetition work. You're writing multiple times proc append step. Can I avoid using macros? See how I'm going to write macro. So here what it is changing every time?
Data value.
This year changing, right?
Year. Yeah.
So see here. So now Every time this year changing, now this parameter I identified, this parameter I need to convert into macro variable. Okay, so this is I'm going to converting macro variable using percentile do it variable. Percentile do. For example, I'm creating a macro variable called year. Some 10 to 14. Okay. Percentile. Normal do loop only. Do I is equal 1 to 10 end. Within the macros we are going to write. So we are using percentile symbols. Percentile do, percentile end. Okay. Now you are created a macro variable called year. So you can resolve this macro variable here. So to resolve the macro variable, numbers and macro variable name down. Equal that. Now you can define the macro. How to define the macro? Percentile macro, macro name, close the macro. Percentile element and test. Then the macro was ready. Now, whenever you are required, you can call the macro. How to call the macro? Percentile macro. Okay. Let's assume already final one is there. Let's take final two. So what it will do now, this loop will rotate 10 to 14. Every time when it will rotate, so here this macro variable going to be resolved here. Year 10, year 11, 12, 13, 14. Every time, each time when it will resolve, year 10, you append to the final two. Year 3, year 4. See? First define the macro. Then call the macro. When I'm calling, automatically the do loop will rotate. When the do loop will rotate each time. So this year is equal 10. So it's going to be a macro variable. That macro variable will resolve here. So when it will resolve, year 10 was it appended to the final year. Next year 11. Do loop will rotate. So year value will increment to the 11. So year 11. So year 11 will resolve to macro variable. So year 11 appended to the final two. Year 12, year 13, year 14. Simple. Okay. Clear? So this is how we can create a macro variable. This is percentile do iterative method. If you use the do loop and you create a macro variable, and you are creating macro variable and you are using, right? If you create a macro variable like this, it's a percentile do iterative method. Everyone clear with this example? Any doubts here? How you define, how you call the macro? Anyone? Clear? If it is clear, see. Additionally, I will ask one more question here. So here, now the scenario is when you are combining year 10 to 14, you are creating some final year 2 data set you are creating. You are combining year 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you are creating. Now suddenly after some steps of program, you got another requirement. This time combine 11 to 13 only. And create some another data set, final year 3. Or else 10 to 12 only you will combine. Create some final year 4. Or create combine some 3 to 14 only in the 2 data sets. Create some final 3. You have different scenarios are there. different situations are there. So what you'll do, for example, if you want to combine for year 11 to 13, will this, if I call this macro, will it work? Because it won't work, because it will combine only 10 to 14 only. So if you want 11 to 13 means, do you write again one more macro? It's no use, right? Instead of writing the one more macro, can I change, can I modify anything in this macros so it will work for in other scenarios also? So now this current macro is going to work only for 10 to 14. We are hard coded. If you give for any other scenario, this macro won't work. So I want to work for another scenario. So now tell me, for all these scenarios also, it has to work. So what changes I have to do in the macro? So it will work for another scenario. So let's understand my question. Yeah? No. The question is, now previously you wrote a macro, it is working for year 10 to year 11, year 12, year 14. This 4 data set you're combining, you're creating final 2 data set. Now I have an additional scenarios also there. For these scenarios, if I need to run the program, this macro won't work. Now what changes I have to do in this macro? It has to work for another scenarios also. That's the question.
By using if statement or like where statement.
If statement, okay, what will use if statements and where statements? Tell me how. What do you thought?
So we can give a statement using the where statement. So in the loop, it is doing, right? So 10 to 14. So if we give the value, if the year is greater than 11 and less than 13, then only we can get an output. Like that we can write, right? I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay, no. So you, how come you know? Okay, every time it is less than 10, greater than 10. So you may have different scenarios. Some now 11, maybe it's 12. Next it is 10 only. Next it is 13.
Yeah. I don't know, sir.
Others, anyone?
Can you add a named or positional parameter method into this macro by having 10 to 10 or 14, making those variables as well, and we can give values to them as we want?
Correct. Simple. So now every time these 10 to 14 values are changing, correct? Now it is 10, later it will be 11, it will be 10 or actually 13. Every time these values are changing. So you cannot don't hard code it, convert into a macro variables. Okay. So for example, I'm creating 2 macro variables in a positional parameter method or named parameter method, any method you can use. I'm creating 2 macro variables. One is start, another is stop. Okay. So this macro variable I will resolve here. Ampersand macro variable name dot. Ampersand macro variable name dot. Okay. Now these values will, while you are calling the macro, you'll pass those values 10, 14. So when you call the macro, so this 10 to 14 will resolve here. And observe this data set name also is changing every time. Can I create a macro variable for that one as well? Now once it is final 2, once it is final 3, once it is final 4. Different scenario, different data sets name, final data set name is required. So create one more macro variable. data set name. Okay. Just in the code, replace with this macro variable. Ampersand macro variable name. Dot. Okay. Clear? So now say final true. So you see, that's it. You defined a macro. So for this scenario, if you want, you can call the macro like this. But if you want to, for this scenario, 11, 13, 11, 12, 13, these three data sets you combine, create a final thread. Then what do you have to do? Just while you are calling the macro, pass the parameters. Okay, your start point is 11, stop point is 13, stop, your data set name is final thread. Simple. Now you gave me whichever data sets you want to combine, I'll combine. Okay, 11 appended to final 3, 12 appended to final 3, 13 appended to final 3. So now your final 3 data set is a combination of 10, 11, 11, 12, 13. Clear? So like this, you can combine, okay, your positional parameter method or a percentage do iterative method. Both the methods you can combine, you can write a code. So not a meaning that you have to use only the percentage relate method or parameter method or only named method or only percentage do it method. It's not like that, okay? You have to combine all the methods and you can write a program. Okay? So that's the reason I gave this example. Clear now? Everyone is clear with this example 13 to 14 if you want to do it. What do you do? Just while you are calling the macro, you just change the values. Macro variable values. That's it. 13 to 14. Create a final file. As per scenario, you have to call the macro. See, one line of program. It's appending, it's creating the final. Okay, so here we used both positional parameter method of programming we used and percentage do iterative method also used for creating the macro variable. Okay, clear? Everyone? So that is start method. Next, method 4. So method 4 and method 5 both are same only but different. One is we are doing some proc SQL and one is we are doing data step. So method 4 is proc SQL into class method. Into class method. So what is this method is? So till now, if you observe, we are creating the macro variables. Macro variable values you are passing manually. For example, parameter method only if you observe. Macro variable, that value you are passing manually. Even percentage do iterative method also. So do here is equal to 10. This value you are passing manually. Even at least percentile let method also, if you observe. Percentile let name is equal to ready. Means macro variable, this is macro variable value you are passing manually. But now, see this is new method, the into class method. While you are creating the macro variable, you only need to pass the manually. It will read the data from the data set from whichever variable you want. From there, it will read, it will create the macro variable. So the value, you no need to take it. You no need to give manually. It will pick from the data set. That's what the SQL into class. Okay, here proc SQL method will be useful to create a macro variable by We're reading the data from a data set. By reading the data from a data set. Okay. How are you going to read the data from the data set variable? See the syntax. Proc SQL. Okay. Select. So no need to create any data set here. Anywhere, any table or not required. So directly select statement. So mention the data set variable from which variable you want to read it. Into class method into. Mention what is the marker variable you want to create. Okay. So on a from statement, mention the input data. Okay. Semicolon. It. Clear? So this is standard syntax. Okay. Let's say I have a data set like this. Data, some test data set I'm creating. Okay. I have a data set like this. Name variable. Name, age, sex. Okay. Let us assume 35 mil. Semicolon. Wait. So this is my input data set now. Test is my input data set. See, my requirement is from by reading the test data set. You pick this ready object. Okay, this observation, it has to pick this observation, and it has to create a macro variable. So previously I'm doing in a percentile let method, name is equal to ready. So you are giving this ready value manually. Now I won't give manually. It will has to read this test data set. It read this name variable. This observation it has to create as a macro variable. See. Let me write it here. This is previous method. Now in SQL, how to write it? See the syntax. Proc SQL. Select statement. So let us assume which dataset variable you want to read in this name variable, correct? Into class method. So what is the macro variable you want to create? You can give macro variable name any name. For example, name underscore one is the macro variable. Okay. From your input dataset, my input dataset is test. Semicolon. Right. So if you're going to read the test dataset name variable, so this observation will assign to the name underscore one macro variable. Then okay. Proc SQL list, no errors, no warnings. Okay. So now tell me. Okay, now a name underscore macro variable is created. I want to check what is the value was there in a name underscore one. How can I check? How it, I want to check. Can I use a put statement? Percentile put. I use a put statement so I can check it in the log window. What is the value it is going to resolve? Percentile put ampersand macro variable lambda. If you check, you can check in the log window. Ready? Okay. So name underscore one macro variable created, the value it has ready. You haven't given arm manually, okay? It's reading from the data set. Clear? Now you can use this macro variable wherever you want in the program. You can use it. Clear? So this is how also you can create a macro. Okay, you would have a question. Here only one observation is there. It is picking the first observation. If you have multiple observations, let us assume your data set have 3 or 4. You have four variables are there. Now, again, there's two scenarios will come. Okay. From this data set, I want to create a macro variable from the name variable only. Two scenarios. One is scenario one. I need all the observations in one macro variable. Second scenario, for each observation means for each name, I need one macro variable. 4 names are there, 4 macro variables are needed. Okay, let's see how to create a macro variable. Proc SQL, select name variable into class method. So first we'll see the first scenario where all the observations are required in only in one macro variable. That is name underscore one only. All the observations required in one macro variable. I'm going to use a keyword called separated. So all the values should be separated by how you want to separate, by space, by comma, or anything. Let us assume I need all the observations should be separated by the space in a macro variable value. Okay, like I need Reddy space, Kiran space, Swati space, Aruna, like this. Or else you need Reddy hyphen, Kiran hyphen, Swati hyphen, Aruna. If you want like that, you give a hyphen here. How you want a macro variable value. Based on that, you have to give. I need a space, I'm giving space. Okay, from test one input answer. So it will read from the test one data set from the name variable and it will read everything and it is going to separate it by the space. Okay. Let me check the directly what is the macro variable value it is resolving also. See. Name underscore one macro variable is created. Now it contains all the observations and it is separated by the space. No, sir, I don't want like this. 4 observations are there, 4 macro variables are required. That time, see. Proc SQL, select name into class method, name underscore one, name underscore one, hyphen. So you require 4 variables, 4 observations, 4 macro variables, right? So let us assume name underscore one, name underscore two, name underscore three, name underscore four. 4 macro variables generated. So 1, 2, 4. From same test one data set. So 4 macro variables are created. One is name underscore one, name underscore two, name underscore three, name underscore four. Okay. 4 observations, 4 macro variables. Check. See, 4 macro variables are created. Name underscore 1 contains Reddy. Name underscore 2 Kiran. Name underscore 3 Swati. Name underscore 4 Arun. Okay, clear? Clear? So this is straightforward code, okay? Reading the data and creating the data set macro variable. So especially this method was there, right? This method and next call simple method. It's a straightforward method. In real time also, you'll see the same code as is your input data set will change. Okay. Clear, everyone? Now same thing. Now you did it using, you creating the macro variable, reading the data from data set. You're using a proc SQL method. Instead of proc SQL, if you use a data step, that is your method file. That is calls input method. Same thing, everything we are doing using data step. Okay, here also same, you are going to read the data from the data set and it will create a macro variable. Now previously you use SQL. Now instead of SQL, if you use a data step. Okay, just to relate it, I'll show you the relate, how to relate it also. Use a proc SQL. Now I am using the data step method. Data. Now, did you creating any data set here? No. So here also not required. No need to create any data set. Okay. Set what is your input? You are using input data set. From statement you are writing, yes, set statement will write. Here into class method. Here call simple method. Call simple. Okay. Call simple. So here you have to mention the macro variable name and data set variable. Okay. So mention the macro variable name, comma, data set variable. Run. Okay, clear? So previously we did it using proc SQL. Now same thing I'm doing using data step in a call simple. Okay. Same here, see, try for one example. From the test data set, you created right one macro variable if you have only one observation. Using proc SQL method, we tried last time. Now let's see using data step method. Data. I'm not creating any data set. Set your input data set name. For example, text is my input data set name. Calls input method, calls input. Okay, so mention the macro variable name you want to create. For example, name underscore 1 is the macro variable. What is the data set name variable? Name. Right. Okay, so test is my input data set. So from the test data set, I'm creating a macro variable called name underscore. See, data statement is used. Now check name underscore 1 will also have value of 20. Created a macro variable. Same way in multiple observations if you have also. The last time we created the 4 macro variables, right? 4 macro variables here, 4 observations if you have in an input data set, 4 macro variables are created. Same way, 4 macro variables you can also create using data step, call simple method also. Okay. Data underscore null underscore. Set your input data set is test1 is your input data set. So calls input method, calls input. You have to mention the macro variable. So if you mention name underscore one, if you mention name underscore one, it will create only one macro variable. Correct? I want name underscore one, name underscore two, name underscore three every time. So this number has to change. If I'm reading the first observation, so name underscore one has to create macro variable. That value has to show. Next, while reading the second observation, it has to change to name underscore two. While reading the third observation, it has to change to name underscore three. So every time to change this, it has to change this number. So what I'm going to do, just here there, I'm concatenating with underscore n underscore. Okay. So every time underscore n underscore value will change, right? So just run the program. Numeric values being converted into character values. Symbolic variable name underscore one must contain letters or digits and numbers. It was not resolving correctly. Directly it won't resolve because it is a number, right? Directly number you can't concatenate. Okay. Simply I'm using some compress function. I remove leading and trailing spaces. It will also try to read it as a character value. This time no errors. Now check. Four macro variables are created. Name underscore one, name underscore two, 3, 4, Reddy, Kiran, so. Like this, when you have a multiple observations also, same way how we created the macro variables, 4 observations, 4 macro variables are getting. Same way you can also create using calls input method. So both input, both the methods will give the same output only. Whichever method you are comfort, you can use that method. So both will same. It will read the data from the data set and it will create a macro variables. Okay. Clear? Clear everyone? Both the methods. Any doubts here? Anyone? So in the macros, we left with the 2 topics actually. Debugging options, small topic, and macro functions. These 2 small topics. We'll cover it tomorrow. Okay. Just 15 minutes of some of now. We'll discuss these 2 tomorrow. Then from Wednesday onwards, we'll start the clinical skills. Okay. Yeah. So we'll stop it here. We'll continue in the next class. Okay, guys.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.